6 huge ancient artifacts archaeologists can't explain. Number 6. The London Hammer, a tool older than history. In June 1936, or 1934 according to some accounts, Max Hahn and his wife Emma were on a walk when they noticed a rock with wood protruding from its core. They decided to take the oddity home and later cracked it open with a hammer and a chisel. Ironically, what they found within seemed to be an archaic hammer of sorts. They turned it to a team of archaeologists who checked it, and as it turns out, the rock encasing the hammer was dated to the Ordovician more than 400 million years ago. There is some question regarding that dating though, but here's the kicker. According to initial measurements, the hammer itself turned out to be more than 500 million years old. Apparently, it's so old that a section of the handle has begun the transformation to coal. Creationists, of course, were all over this, and creationist Carl Baugh latched onto the hammer in the 80s, even using it as a basis of speculation of how the atmospheric quality of pre-flood Earth could have encouraged the growth of giants. But the mysteries don't end there. The hammer's head, made of more than 96% iron, is far purer than anything nature could have achieved without an assist from technology, and stylistically, it resembles a 19th century American hammer. Also, there's significant reason to question the initial dating, and just because the hammer was encased in old rocks doesn't mean that it itself is as old as the rocks. The only proposed explanation is that the highly soluble minerals in the ancient limestone may have formed a concretion around the object, thus making it seem that it's as old as the minerals themselves, but this hasn't been confirmed. There's a phenomenon called a petrifying well that can create something like this, and it's been observed with other structures. The problem is that in fact, radiocarbon dating is yet to be undertaken for the hammer itself, which brings a significant question mark for the date of the hammer. The hammer is now an exhibit in the so-called Creation Evidence Museum, which is also kind of unfortunate because curators don't allow any additional scientific tests on the London Hammer, so we're stuck with incomplete information. Number 5. The Great Pyramids of Giza. Standing tall on the outskirts of Cairo, Egypt, the Great Pyramids of Giza are marvels of ancient engineering and still remain as one of the biggest mysteries of Egypt. The monumental tombs are relics of Egypt's Old Kingdom era and were constructed some 4,500 years ago. Egypt's pharaohs expected to become gods in the afterlife. To prepare for the next world, they erected temples to the gods and massive pyramid tombs for themselves, filled with all the things each ruler would need to guide and sustain himself in the next world. Pharaoh Khufu began the first Giza Pyramid project circa 2550 BC. His Great Pyramid is the largest in Giza and towers some 481 feet 147 meters above the plateau. Its estimated 2.3 million stone blocks each weigh an average of 2.5 to 15 tons. The ancient engineering feats at Giza were so impressive that even today, scientists can't be sure how the pyramids were ever built. Yet they've learned much about the people who built them and the political power necessary to make it happen. The builders were skilled, well-fed Egyptian workers who lived in a nearby temporary city. Archaeological digs on the fascinating site have revealed a highly organized community rich with resources that must have been backed by strong central authority. It's likely that communities across Egypt contributed workers as well as food and other essentials for what became in some ways a national project to display the wealth and control of the ancient pharaohs. Before we move any further though, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell to be up to date of our future uploads. And now, let's get back to our video. Number 4. Antikythera Mechanism. Like something from a fantastical treasure movie, the discovery of the Antikythera mechanism remains a major archaeological head-scratcher. Found in the sunken wreckage of a Greek cargo ship that's at least 2,000 years old, the circular bronze artifact contains a maze of interlocking gears and mysterious characters etched all over its exposed faces. Originally thought to be a kind of navigational astrolabe, archaeologists continue to uncover its uses and now know that it was, at the very least, a highly intricate astronomical calendar. It's still the most sophisticated device ever found from that period, preceding the next appearance of similar devices by 1,000 years. Number 3. Nazca lines. From the ground, the Nazca lines of Peru are nothing spectacular. However, when seen from the air, from which they were spotted by commercial aircraft in the 1920s and 30s, they're staggering. Archaeologists agree the enormous shapes that are hundreds of them, ranging from geometric lines to complicated depictions of animals, plants, and imaginary figures, were made over 2,000 years ago by people of the pre-Inca Nazca culture who simply removed the red surface pebbles to reveal the lighter earth below in designs of their choice. Just why they did it remains enigmatic, prompting conspiracy theorists to float ideas about alien landings and ancient astrology. The lines were more likely to have been a ritual communication method with the Nazca's deities, say archaeologists. Number 2. King Tut's death. Few archaeological mysteries conjure up as much excitement as this one: the mysterious mummy of the Egyptian boy pharaoh Tutankhamun. King Tut's tomb was unearthed in 1922 by British Egyptologist Howard Carter, and tales of a pharaoh's curse that kills those who come near the tomb have circulated ever since. But the real mysteries of King Tut's tomb are even more interesting than any curse. Archaeologists believe that the boy king died unexpectedly, perhaps from an infection or from injuries sustained in a chariot accident. His untimely death may help to explain the strange condition that his mummy was in when it was discovered. King Tut appears to have caught fire after his body was mummified and his tomb sealed. Experts who have studied the mummy believe that King Tut's linen wrappings, which were soaked in flammable embalming oils, may have reacted with oxygen in the air to start a chain reaction that ignited the king's corpse, cooking it at about 390 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Fahrenheit. A rushed burial was likely behind the botched embalming job that caused the fire, but the hasty burial of this royal figure also gives rise to another mystery. It's possible that King Tut's tomb was originally built for someone else, and there may be other undiscovered mummies buried in the same tomb. Number 1. Shroud of Turin. We have surely saved the best one for last. Perhaps no archaeological discovery is more debated than the enigmatic Shroud of Turin, which many believe to be the burial shroud of Jesus Christ. This long piece of twill cloth bears traces of blood as well as the darkened imprint of a man's body. The Catholic Church officially recorded the existence of the shroud in AD 1353, which was when the cloth showed up in a church in Lille, France. But the legend of the shroud dates back to AD 30 or 33. According to that legend, the shroud was transported from Judea, now southern Palestine, to Edessa, Turkey, and later to Constantinople, now called Istanbul. When Crusaders sacked Constantinople in AD 1204, the cloth was moved to Athens, Greece, where it was allegedly held until AD 1225. It wasn't until the 1980s that researchers got their hands on the cloth to try to determine its true age using radiocarbon dating. They determined that the alleged burial cloth of Jesus was actually created between AD 1260 and AD 1390. In other words, the scientists determined that the cloth is most likely a medieval forgery. However, critics of this research argue that the scientists may have dated newer portions of the shroud that were stitched together centuries after Jesus' death, which would explain why the shroud seems newer than it really is. So guys, that about wraps up our video, and until next time, take care and goodbye.